What's up guys, it's Punchy, and it's time for a massive Deepwoken update with many meta-shifting changes and weapons to explore. We've got crazy additions for everyone to mess around with, and I'm pretty excited to test them out. I don't even know, but it might be more insane than last week's update where we got Iron Sync turrets and massive combat updates for Deepwoken, but that's kinda up to you. Anyway, if you want, please hop in game for yourself to get that full experience from this update. As always, make sure to like and subscribe because I really want to hit 100k subs. Regardless, I'll show you what's up, and let's get right into it. Real quick, outside of the game, with a small Twitter teaser, we actually have some new concept art coming from Archmage, a major developer for the game. Based on what we're seeing, it looks like a redesign of the current Gigamed jellyfish. At a first glance, this thing looks pretty creepy and nasty looking, but maybe that's what they're going for. In-game, we still have the classic design for Gigameds, but in the future, that might be changing. Starting off, released in the current update, we have a really interesting new legendary weapon that might change how we view these weapons as a concept. Introducing the Imperator's Edge. Calm down everyone, but that edge part of its name is a very important component to its core gameplay. Anyway, at a first glance, this weapon is a massive Spartan spear perfect for poking with a giant glowing blade. If we zoom in and look a bit closer, it's been decorated by Legion symbols, which is cool since they've basically been forgotten since the game's release. Despite its glowing appearance, this legendary weapon is not elemental. In fact, its requirements and scaling have a near balanced distribution in normal attunementless stats. With a mix of medium weapon, strength, and fortitude, the Imperator's Edge is extremely expensive to use all around the board. Anyway, to make up for this, it deals very high damage and has insanely broken range for its M1s, which might actually be an issue. Basic M1s with the edge and running attacks don't do anything special, but if we hit a target at the tip of the hitbox, we can gain a stack which builds a mode. After hitting 3 people with an edge of your hitbox, we can enter the enlightened state. By reaching this state, our character gains a glowing gold halo, which also empowers our critical, so let's get into that. The Imperator's Edge has a single critical, but it does quite a lot of damage and a lot in combat. So as mentioned earlier, the damage on this weapon is pretty astronomical, piercing enemies with a hyper armor jab while stunning them in place for a set duration. Despite what you might think, you can still parry out and escape this critical if your timing is right. Anyway, while in this enlightened state, our critical will double up, increasing our hyper armor frames and letting us automatically stab once again. So basically, instead of 1 critical, we do 2. Everything about this weapon doubles up due to the multiplied critical, which will be hitting hard. And that's about it for this new legendary. I won't get into any depth about my personal opinions, but I'll save it for a future video. But seriously, I don't know if this weapon's gameplay is well designed. In order to make up for its limited gameplay options or lack of criticals and extremely high investment stats, this weapon deals increased damage, and that's about it. I don't think this is a very good idea, and we've seen this in the past with oaths like Silent Heart losing its free stat upgrades in favor of build flexibility. Personally, I think that people want more things to do in gameplay instead of just dealing more damage, but you know, that's my take. Overall, those are my thoughts for right now, but this weapon is pretty cool. But as always, please share what you think down below, and I'll also tell the devs. If you want to get this weapon, go farm Primadon. In this update, we've also received something massive, an entirely new weapon class belonging to medium. This new option is called the Twinblades, and so far they're pretty sweet. The crescendo appears to be fairly basic with the twisted hilt and blades on each side. Equipped with 2 different stance animations, this thing looks dangerous to fight, and yeah, it's cool. Since this weapon isn't legendary, the enchants are also sweet to see, so test them out. Let's discuss the gameplay as well as the supporting talent tree. In combat, the M1 animations will be different depending on your weapon's stance. When blocking with either stance of this weapon, you'll notice that we spin the Twinblades in defense, which is a really nice touch. It also seems like the single-handed hold M1 sequence is entirely new, while the two-handed stance looks very similar to the Imperial Staff. Besides this, the aerial attack is also new with a wide swinging slash that impales targets, and that is really sweet. The running attack is also different with a double hitting spin, and the usage of this attack will be pretty creative, and it gets even better when we talk about talents. On the other hand, with specifically the crescendo, we spin around with multiple slices within hyper armor. I think both of these criticals are pretty cool, but there's also some talents to talk about. Starting off, we have an insane talent, which is Face Cutter. Very simply, your spine cutter now deals an additional hit as shown in game. With Twinblade Twinblades, you're going to be dealing some crazy combos and pretty good damage. Next, with turning of the wheel, perfect dodging a swing or critical attack lets you step back with a faster next M1. All we gotta do is dodge away with a new animation that allows for a quicker approach. Referencing the parry changes from last week, we also got a few adjustments coming to stun time that might mix things up. Parry stun duration range, basically the interaction between light and heavy weapons, has been increased further from 0.15 seconds of stun at the lowest to 0.35 at the highest. This will happen if a heavy is parried by a light on the lower end, and the opposite if a light parries a heavy, so not much has really changed. Additionally, feint and lag maximum duration has been increased from 0.2 seconds to 0.3, so now we can definitely punish feints in trades. Up next, with some new interesting equipment, we got a few rings to check out. First off, with the charged ring, this option reduces the amount of charges required to activate elemental payoffs at the cost of reduced damage. For example, options like Surge Path or Crystal will now require fewer hits landed to obtain that explosion, but of course they're going to be dealing less. Next up, with another option, we also have the Ferryman's Ring. Dropping from the boss himself, this option buffs one of his special techniques. As a simple and direct upgrade to the Rhythm Murmur, the range of detection has been increased by about 50%. Although fairly cut and dry and basic, this is support for a heavily slept on ability. Moving further, we also got some new changes and new content when it comes to Corrupted Bells. With a new downside to roll on your special resonance, we have blood loss. So after using this bell, you simply lose 20% of your maximum blood, which could be useful depending on your build. Up next, with a massive nerf to the burning corruption downside, this thing got heavily nerfed. Instead of burning the player until they eventually rolled, we gain temporary withered HP equivalent to 15% of your max HP. So instead of essentially having zero downside, you gotta be careful with this one. Moving into the depths, Hell Mode actually got a nice accessibility update. Previously only activatable with 5 people, now it's been changed or updated to trigger with only 4. So this is cool and appreciated if you don't have that many people and still want to take on Deepwoken depths. Also, as a bonus, there's a secret special NPC found in the Void Heart specifically for Voidwalkers. It seems like he's a weak Voidwalker NPC. I don't really know, there might be something cool to investigate, but in reality, this is just a reference to one of our tester friends who always has the same build. So they slapped him in game, and I don't think there's anything hidden about this, but it's just a goofy reference. This update also serves as a massive change for all things equipment. I won't be discussing the specifics on every single armor piece, but most of them were heavily buffed with what they can roll, allowing builds to have more options with different equipment. Instead of waiting until endgame to finalize your build with decent armor stats, it should hopefully ramp up from weak to strong. Of course, there are so many pieces updated in this patch, and I do recommend that you read the specifics if you want to see what exactly is changing. Something new found in game is the export button, which is also in our tab menu. If we want to share our build stats around, there's a small button in the bottom of our menu that pops up with an option that we can copy and paste. It's pretty solid and appreciated for accessibility. And finally, that's it. So, as always, make sure to check out the weekly battle royale to win some games with your friends. If you want to see even more exclusive update content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe so we can hit 100k subs. We're super close and there will be something special if we hit that goal. Anyway, thanks again. It's punchin' time.